is the You Are Business Network.
Welcome to Exit This Way on You Are Business Network, where we discuss planning your exit strategy so you can get out on your terms, on your timeline, because it's never too early or too late to plan your exit. My name is Carrie Sauls, exit strategist at This Way Out Group. Welcome to the conversation. Our topic today is the 9 signs that it's time to sell your business. And to join me in this discussion today on Exit This Way is Heath-frantzen. How do I say, is it Frantzen? Frantzen of Delta Business Services.
Frantzen, yes.
It's Frantzen. Okay, Heath. Thank you so much. So I say it correctly each time. Before we get into our conversation, let me give you a little bit of background about Heath. Heath-frantzen is a small business owner and buyer. After a successful real estate career that took him from investing and sales to home building and participating in the development of the largest master plan community in Austin, Texas, and after calling it right with not one but 2 real estate bubbles, Heath began buying small businesses in 2005. However, after more than 300 acquisition deals with business brokers, Heath became fed up with seeing both buyers and sellers get raw deals each and every time, due mainly to the intermediaries' ulterior motives. After years of doing things the hard way, he decided to change the game. Traditional methods of selling businesses fail miserably, and that's how he came up with the Delta Solution, a new way of exiting your business successfully. Mr. Frantzen is very passionate about 2 things, business and taking care of people. With Delta Business Services, he has successfully merged the 2. Well, welcome again, Heath, to Exit This Way.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm excited to be back on Exit This Way.
Absolutely. It's great to have you back. The last conversation, we just ran out of time. There was so much to talk about. And with this topic, there is so much for owners to take note of. Do any of these 9 signs apply to them already? Even if they don't think it's time to sell their business, with these signs, they may realize that, oh, maybe I should get on board and start planning this now. So let's get right into the conversation. You've given us 9 signs that it's time to sell your business. Let's start with number 1. Number 1, you say, is life changes are causing you to lose focus. Tell us more.
Indeed. This is the main one that I see that causes me to determine that it's time for a business owner to sell their business. It's difficult enough to run a successful business without the added stress of unforeseen life events, but things such as divorce, perhaps an illness of a family member, or having to care for elderly parents can upset any work-life balance that you think you've achieved. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel depleted, trying to focus on both the business and family matters and other things, you need to seriously consider selling. The reason why is because your work-life balance is out of balance, and it's just a little while before things start getting critical and start slipping down what is a very slippery slope. So when things are causing you to lose focus, that's the number 1 sign.
So the sign that life changes are causing you to lose focus is that things are changing, things are slipping, and you need either to regain focus or gain focus to achieve what for your business?
Yes, and so that it's possible to regain focus. It really is. If you are good at delegating and managing those things. So you can either delegate the family matters or the personal matters, or you can delegate the business matters, either one of those things. It's just at that moment when things are out of balance, if something doesn't give, then it's only a short while before they start sliding down a very slippery slope, and both things suffer, both personal life and business.
So this isn't something that people can avoid or postpone. When you start seeing everything out of balance and any of these are slipping, you need to address them and at least delegate one or the other, if not both, because both are going to suffer.
Indeed. Yes, and this goes back to your statement of repurposing and deciding. All of these things, all of the 9 signs are just signs. They're things on the surface. There's something beneath the surface that is delivering the sign, that's causing it to show up. And those subsurface events that are transpiring, those are the things that we can deal with if we have the fortitude to drill down and actually tackle the issues that are and deal with the problem that is instead of the symptoms on the surface. But there is always something that can be done depending on what the problem is. There's always a tool that can be applied. It's just a matter of having the will to drill down and find it, and then, of course, the will to speak it out loud and address it.
Very good advice. Absolutely. You have to face it and then address it. Heath, your number 2 sign says that you, as the business owner, have a hard time getting up in the morning and going to work or making the calls that are necessary to keep your business running. Why is that one of your signs?
Yeah. It's called approach avoidance. In other words, there's something with the business, either at the workplace or something going on in the business that you just don't want to deal with, and you're making excuses not to deal with it. And this happens too many times, particularly when there is a large financial issue that is taking place, because large financial issues typically come in complex forms. They have multiple moving parts to them, and complexity is just a part of our world today. We live in a world that has enormous change and constant complexity and incredible competition, and that's always going to be the case from now forward. So complexity is part of our daily lives. However, the human brain hates complexity. In fact, it will do things to skip it or not avoid it, including shutting down, not going in, not making the phone calls necessary, making excuses to stay home or go somewhere else other than the workplace. So those are symptoms, again, they're on the surface, but they're symptoms of something that is a deeper problem, and that's what needs to be addressed. Drilling down more deeply with the mental issue, with the psychological issue, whenever there's a large financial issue that is shrouded in complexity, and a business owner does not have the skills and tools that it takes to actually pull it apart, break it down into its simplest forms, and study it, and then synthesize it, and then figure it out, the default is always avoidance. And research has even shown that when a business owner doesn't have the skills and tools to do that, and someone comes along who does and can assist a business owner with a large financial issue, even then, the cloud of pain, the approach avoidance, will spill over onto the professional. They will project the pain psychologically onto the professional and envelop that professional into the problem. And now the consultant becomes part of the problem. See how it works against you? And so this mountain of complexity, and atop it sits a cloud of pain. It gets higher and higher. It starts building higher and higher, and it wages war on a business owner's psyche. It's another front on which the business owner's psyche is assaulted.
Well, you just took a symptom that is very straightforward, symptomatic of not wanting to get up in the morning and go to work or not wanting to make the calls, and you dug below the surface and woke us up to this whole other realm of issues that owners could be ignoring, avoiding, or denying even exist. And the other thing you surprised me with is that when you start addressing bigger, complex financial issues, and you do the right thing by bringing in experts, that cloud of pain can actually overflow and overwhelm the professionals as well, so that you need to recognize what's going on so that you can actually get to a resolution instead of having everyone be paralyzed by the problem.
Exactly. Don't be a victim. That's what the bottom line is. Don't be a victim. If you're a business owner, you have to fight through this, or you have to reach out to someone who can help you professionally overcome the obstacles, and maybe even business-wise, install a leader inside your business who can tackle the complex financial issues and help you build your business, grow it, or solve problems inside your business, or whatever the issue is.
And that's where the solution to number 2 of using the outside experts and bringing in the right one also is part of the solution for the first of the 9 signs, because you were saying you can delegate family issues or delegate business issues. If you bring in the right expert to help you with like a complex financial problem who is working on the business, you can address both situations at the same time to the benefit of the family and the business rather than to detriment, which too often happens when owners try to go it alone.
It's wonderful. That's a wonderful conclusion to arrive at. And now you see how the problem can be the same, but the symptoms can be different.
Exactly. And
right.
That's why I want to keep going, because you've given us so many of these jewels that on the surface, they're just light, simple symptoms and people will recognize. But with the digging deeper that you're offering us, Heath, the insights that you're bringing really help people to rethink each of these signs to see, oh, maybe at that level this does apply to us, or I could see that coming at us and we should pay attention. So I'm going to go on to your number 3, which is you spend considerable time thinking about retirement or whatever comes next.
Yes, there's no shame in doing this. Many of us look forward to a life without work. However, if you're spending an inordinate amount of time that should otherwise be spent doing working on your business, if you're watching the Travel Channel, thinking about where you want to go to, or you're writing down your trip plans on different exotic locales that you want to visit, these kinds of things might point to something deeper. And yes, there's no shame in doing this. It's just don't go crazy with the amount of time that you spend thinking about retirement, as opposed to clocking in, getting the work done, focusing on your job, and getting the critical things done that a business owner needs to be getting done.
Well, isn't it, I think always that people talk about, even if they're in a day job in a corporation, people spend more time planning for a vacation than they do in general for their retirement, and they spend more time dreaming about that than they do on monetizing the business to be able to achieve that kind of retirement lifestyle. And as you're saying, we need to get back to focusing on the work at hand to deliver that kind of a result.
Right. So you need to be willing to do the things today that other people aren't willing to do, so that you can do tomorrow the things that other people can't do.
Very well paraphrased. Very good. Definitely. And your number 4 is that your kids don't want, if this might be a flag for you, your kids don't want or are not capable of running your business.
Yes. This is a common sign. Here is the thing. The vast majority of people selling their businesses today are baby boomers. And baby boomers have Generation Y kids. They're also called the Echo Boom, by the way. And Generation Y kids aren't interested in owning mom and dad's asphalt paving company, metal foundry business, or string of dry cleaners, or car washes, or anything like that. They like technology. They like IT. They like software. And they want to do something sexy, like an app business or start up the next Facebook. That's fine. Let them do what they want to do. But so many times the business owners who have built this wonderful business wanted to give that business to their kids. They wanted it to stay in the family. And they're seriously disappointed that Junior and Sally don't want to take it over. And that kind of throws the owners into a mild grade depression. Now they're thinking, oh my goodness, what have I been struggling so long and so hard for in building this business? All the time away from my kids. I didn't get to go to Junior's ball game or Sally's ballet recital because I was closing a deal, or I was on a business trip, or I had to work late that night in order to get a product out the door in the morning. All of those things, and there's something of a psychological disconnect because some business sellers, far too many in fact, think that their kids are going to hate them when they die because the kids were disenfranchised when they were younger, all because of this business. This business is seen as the redheaded stepchild, if you will, and there's a cloud of pain around this issue. So business owners get disappointed, and it throws them into a mild grade depression because their kids don't want to, or they're incapable of running their business. Sometimes parents see that Junior and Sally are nowhere near the kind of people who need to be running a business, and they don't hand over their business for their own good.
For their own good. It's not always in the best interest of the business to pass it on to those kids who are incapable of running that kind of a business or have absolutely no interest in that kind of a business. And therefore, as much as it might be, quote, disenfranchising them from the family legacy, if they're not a fit, if they're going to end up bleeding the business dry or running it into the ground before anyone else benefits from it, then the owners need to be looking at other alternatives for the legacy they want the business to be, or maybe the financial return that it brings both to themselves and even to the next generation. They don't want their kids to walk away with nothing, but maybe they have to rethink, is it by passing it on to their children, or is it by monetizing the business with somebody else that they can bring a different kind of return to their children?
Exactly. Now, we have a solution for that. We have a solution for monetizing the business and still giving the kids something very nice in the estate, just not the business. At Delta Business Services, we call it the Delta Solution. More on that later. I really want to address this next sign, which happens to be if everything is grown stale for the business owner and they've run out of ideas to keep things moving. In other words, there's brain drain. They're out of ideas. No longer is the business exciting to them. No longer is it their passion. No longer are they getting up and tackling things and brainstorming and trying to create ways to enhance their revenue. Years ago, when they started the business, creative thoughts spewed out of the brain with the speed and the intensity of a high-pressure hose. And they had tons of ideas on how to differentiate their business and make their brand unforgettable. But if today you feel stuck and the idea well is bone dry, and without improvements and innovations, your company's growth will stagnate, and you can't reignite that idea machine, it could very well mean that it's time to sell to somebody who can.
Well, that makes it really black and white, that if that's how you wake up every morning and you have a brain drain, you're no longer excited to get up and go to this work every day, you no longer have any passion or desire for it, then you're just going to be limiting how far the company can grow. The sales aren't going to be what you want them to be because your energy, your enthusiasm is no longer there. And that carries over to the entire team, not just to you as the owner, but it permeates the entire business, which is damaging the business, right?
Right. The tone is set at the top, whether you intend on it being set or not. Okay, so if you're going into the office and you're excited and you're passionate and you're effervescent, you're chatting people up and you're real kind and nice to people and cheery, other people are going to follow suit. It's contagious because they see management exhibiting that kind of behavior. And the opposite is true as well. If you go into the office and you're taking a cat nap every 40 minutes, or you're just so sluggish that you have no energy, you're lethargic, you're like a little koala bear. Not much energy. You look cute, but that's about it. people are going to catch on to that too. They're going to be lazy. They're going to feel, okay, well, if my boss is doing it, well, then I guess I can get away with it too. So the tone is set at the top, whether you intend on it being set there or not.
And whether you say that you're tired of the business or you say how long you're going to stay with the business or not, it becomes part of the culture and part of the environment based on your own energy and your activity, and they follow what you do more than what you say, right?
Oh, yes. There's a wonderful saying. It goes like this. It goes, your actions speak so loudly that I cannot hear the words you speak.
And
in other words, actions speak louder than words. So let's look at someone's actions and let's look at someone's results rather than what they're talking about, because that's really where the proof is. The proof is in the pudding.
And that's going to be true in running the business, in growing the business, and in what you can demonstrate to any potential buyer. Because if you're already stale in the business and you then are trying to sell while you're already stale, you being bored, you having no passion or caring about it comes through even to your buyers. Why would they want to buy this dull, dying business instead of why shouldn't they be scrambling to buy this vibrant business that's growing and everyone's energized to take it to where the owner knows they can take it and what the buyer can take it beyond that. You want to create that energy and maintain that energy level so that there's a future for the business and the team, even if you need to sell the business, if you are ready to sell the business, but that you can't die on the vine and expect the business to thrive without you.
Oh, that's a wonderful distinction that you just made. In other words, for a business buyer, unless they're a fool, they're going to be a professional buyer. And that means they're going to have skills and tools and business insight. They're going to know the business side of business very, very well. And why would they want to bother buying a business where there aren't the elements of an investment that need to be present in order for that business to continue running without the owner there? The whole concept of selling a business revolves around building that business such that it becomes attractive to a buyer, and how it becomes attractive to a buyer is it gets turned into a machine for the generation of cash that is de-risked and can exist and grow without the owner being there. And when that is the place, you've actually got a machine that can have its ownership easily transfer from a seller to a buyer. That's what makes business sales successful, when there is a machine that's going to continue generating cash regardless of the owner.
Exactly.
As long as the new buyer, the new owner, has skills and tools to run that business, and they can be easily interchanged. Now, that involves doing the things that it takes to not only prepare a seller, but also preparing the business for just such an event. The seller has to be ready to create a machine and build their business into that attractive vehicle to get a buyer to say, oh, I got to have this one. It's irresistible.
And that's where you need to do both.
And a professional buyer will come along and know what they're looking at and recognize it and say, oh, I got to have that one, and snap it up. And in the coming wave of baby boomer business owner sellers, that has to be the case if you're going to sell your business successfully, unless you're holding out for a fool buyer who has more money than brains. And unfortunately, those folks are out there. They're few and far between, but they do exist. And my thinking is, well, shoot, why don't you just do the things that it takes to create a business that's attractive to a professional buyer, and that way you don't have to wait around. You can have control over the process. You can have some influence over the terms and over the pricing, and your business goes to the top of the stack once it is an attractive machine for the generation of cash. Professional buyers will come out of the woodwork. They'll come out in droves to buy that business.
And that's what we want owners listening to our show to recognize, that there are things they can do, even if they recognize themselves in some of your signs that it's time to sell. Moving on, in the interest of time, Heath, can we go on to number 6, where you say one of the signs is that you need to pour tons of money into updating your business?
Yes. If you have to pour tons of money into updating the business, not the offices, but updating the business, if you're in a highly competitive niche, especially that is continuously evolving, and you might have fallen behind. In other words, you let some things slide, and you need to do an extensive and expensive makeover in order to stay profitable. If that's the case, even if you're currently making a nice income, it might not be in your best interest to spend money to stay in business, especially if you aren't having fun with it anymore. If that's your thinking, you need to change your thinking. You need to think about who's going to come along to buy the business and their income once they buy the business. Because many times, if you don't make the investments today in your business to generate the income in the future, that's just not going to happen. And a savvy business buyer is going to recognize that and go, oh, this business, it's losing relevance because they just didn't make the investments in the business that they needed to make in order to stay profitable, stay sustainable, and stay relevant in the marketplace.
Really good point. In the interest of time, I'm going to go on to number 7. You say that suppose you get an offer that you'd be foolish to refuse. So why is that a sign
this happens more than you might think, even during a down economy. If someone out there has his or her eye on your business and they like what they see, and out of the blue they make an offer that is considerably more than the current valuation, in most of these situations it would be crazy not to sell. You need to go ahead and say yes.
I like that. You need to go ahead and say yes.
Mm-hmm. Never put off a good deal today in hopes of a better deal tomorrow. Don't do that. If it's a good deal today, take it.
Very good advice. Very well. Okay, that leads me to number 8. You say, suppose interest rates are low. Why is that a sign that it's time to sell?
If interest rates are low, what we see in the marketplace is corresponding high asset values, because those assets become more affordable because the interest charges are lower. And it also indirectly increases your chances of getting a business sold. So for investors, it makes sense to borrow cheap money and snatch up the appreciable assets, the profitable businesses, especially companies which, if they're managed properly, will generate nice returns. So if capital's cheap, we usually see corresponding high asset values, and vice versa. Whenever interest rates are high, we start seeing low asset values. It's just like real estate with respect to the price differentials.
And number 9, you say you have an opportunity to participate in another venture or do something else that you've always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So if you have the opportunity to participate in another venture, if there's something that is next, if there is a next chapter in your life, or if there is a retirement that's around the corner, if you're hanging up your spurs and you want to go on and become the best grandparent in the entire world, or you want to do some serious traveling, then those are the things that you need to seize whenever the opportunity presents itself. Most business owners, even those who are only marginally successful, are constantly approached by purveyors of new business opportunities. And these can range from hyped-up multi-level marketing positions to Ponzi schemes to legitimate investment opportunities. Now, stay away from the MLM and the Ponzi schemes. But if something is a legitimate investment opportunity and you want to jump on it, you'd be a fool not to do it. So if you're presented with another venture, go for it. In fact, my very first business was a chocolate company in North Miami Beach, and there was a gentleman who was trying to sell his business in order to go into a real estate venture. And he was asking a very, very high price. He wound up not selling the business, but he did seize the opportunity to participate in the next venture, and he wound up going on and becoming wildly successful in real estate, much more successful than he was being a chocolatier. And so those kinds of things, he seized the opportunity when it presented itself. He jumped on it, and he became a multimillionaire as a result.
Very cool example of recognizing an opportunity and going for it rather than letting it haunt you for the next 10 years because you didn't take advantage of it. Because we're out of time, I do have to just ask you one last question, Heath. With everything that you've been sharing, how can our listeners follow up on all that you've shared? What's the best way for them to learn more or reach you directly?
The best way to get a hold of me is 210-369-4161. It's Delta Business Services. Ask for me. That's our office. You can also go to our website, which is www.deltabusinessservices.com, and visit our website. We can opt in for a free report. You can get your perfect business exit strategy free report, or if you want to hit me up on the email, it's Heath, Heath, at deltabusinessservices.com.
I forgot to mention at the top of the show, you also have a book that's available on your website, What to Do When You've Fallen Out of Love with Your Business, which goes right along with this topic of the 9 signs it's time to sell your business. Thank you again,
yes,
Heath-frantzen of Delta Business Services, for joining us on Exit This Way, and thank you, listeners, for joining me for Exit This Way on UR Business Network. Exit This Way is presented by This Way Out Group. That's thiswayoutgroup.com, exit strategist helping you maximize value so you can harvest the wealth in your business on your terms, on your timeline. Enjoy our extensive library of past shows by going to urbusinessnetwork.com and search for Exit This Way. This is Carrie Sauls, your host. Tune in next time.
This is the UR Business Network.